excitement of this motorcycle racing, the sidecar riders and their intrepid passengers warming up now for the ABC Sport sidecar scratch race, 8 laps, 21 kilometres around the Oran Park Grand Prix circuit. This is the way they line up. On the front row of the grid, 6 and 28. Second row, Brian Payne, the man that builds the worm-type sidecars up in Queensland, and John Mackay in 77. Third row has Tony Cornwall on 11, alongside 23, David McLaughlin. Fourth row takes us to Peter Stevens in 71 and Peter Schumacher with 5. Fifth row sees 30, Stan Bayliss in a revolutionary machine, which we'll tell you more about shortly. Should also be bike 16, actually should be forward on the fourth row, Chris Downing. And Stan Bayliss's machine, no name, he's just built it, but it's got a Kawasaki power plant and gearbox. 1000cc out of a machine that was wrecked when it had only 673 kilometres on it. No scratchings in this event, so 13 line up on the grid.
The field almost equally made up of 2-stroke and 4-stroke machines. 6 4-strokes in fact. And they wind down now into Castrol Curve, come up to the start-finish line. It'll be a clutch start. There's the Bayliss machine, the big white whale of a machine there. And you can see that Stanley Bayliss is in fact sitting down, rather like in a motor car rather than up. Will Hagan will tell you more about this one.
No rear suspension on the machine. Rear brake is a drum from an XL Falcon. Stanley's applied his own thoughts and he says there's nothing else in the world like it. It steers beautifully, brakes beautifully, and it's very safe.
Ready for a start in this 8-lap ABC 1000cc sidecar sprint. New starting technique at Oran Park today. Flashing red lights. And they're green.
Brian Payne started to urge forward at 99 but didn't get away, then he held it, but now gets going well. He's into second place.
Chris Robinson's in the lead on bike 6, but look at Stanley Bayliss come through the field. You can easily tell him because he's twice the size of any other machine there.
Slots into fourth place. The big white machine. No name, no sponsorship. Out wide,
Tony
number 11
Cornwall.
is Cornwall with Joanne Chesney.
But it's Chris Robinson with passenger Craig Stewart in the lead.
Brian Payne second and 99. In the absence, of course, of Greg Neal, who broke a leg racing here in about August, and Doug Chivers, Margaret Halliday, sorry, he was in about June. Doug Chivers, Margaret Halliday had an accident earlier up in Queensland and they're still not fit. That's Doug, isn't? He had to have his leg re-broken, so the Australian champions and Grand Prix winners out.
Big challenge here from Peter Schumacher on the blue bike, number 5. It's a Kawasaki 1000cc coming up behind Crane, who's on a Yamaha-powered 750cc 2-stroke.
Jim Duncan, passenger on 99, very nearly lost his handhold there and was looking very shaky for just a moment as they battle for second place.
Well, you're not going to find a way on the outside over the Honda dogleg. Split first to second place is 5.3 seconds after 1 lap. This is the dice, the second position between Brian Payne on the red Transalp 750 and Peter Schumacher, bike 5, the Kawasaki 1000.
Very different passenger styles there as the race leader goes through. That's Robinson that got such a good start from Tasmania.
Just look at the dice back for fourth position there as Bayliss looks down the inside.
Very standard engine on Stanley Bayliss's machine, number 30. Just got an exhaust system, and he said, as we see just in front of him, Dave McLaughlin and Martin Long from Powerband Motorcycle Services. There's Bayliss. His passenger, John Foster. John Flood, at least.
Dice for second position. Lap 2 of this 8-lap ABC sidecar sprint. There's the leader. The full length of the straight plus some over the Honda dogleg. This time Schumacher, no, has a tentative look down the inside, but decided it's all a bit beyond him.
The lead's built up to 7.6 seconds over this pair, battling for second place. Still Payne doing the better of the two of them at 99. Schumacher, Craig Johnston and 6. Still in third place, still looking for that 10th or 2 that would put them up into second. More active passenger in the third place machine, particularly on left-handers.
There's a lot of survival instinct comes into play. Well, if your suspension isn't working properly, then you've really got to get active to keep the thing on the ground, and if you don't, you're the one who pays the penalty.
Situation, as you can see, very little gap between second and third as they still battle in this 8-lap 21-kilometre race. And closing up well in third place, Peter Schumacher.
There's the leader opening a big gap.
And Schumacher closer, but still not close enough to stay on the throttle just a fraction longer and dive down the inside, so that Brian Payne hangs grimly onto second place, certainly under more pressure than he's been so far. .4 seconds the gap now. Fourth place and consolidating is Dave McLaughlin, Martin Long. From fifth place, Stan Bayliss.
And the classic struggle between a 2-stroke and a 4-stroke around Oran Park. Brian Payne 2-stroke in the lead in this dice for second position. Obviously quicker under acceleration. The 4-stroke having more grunt out of the slower corners, like right here. But then unable to make it up in the mid-range. About the only chance he's really got to catch him is to make a demon run under brakes. He's been trying for the last couple of laps down into Castrol, but I suspect that maybe he's hanging back just a little bit, not wanting to show his hand too early.
He's on the power early there, though. Should be well situated. Coming up now to the Honda flip-flop. Quick change of direction here. Still, though, not close enough to dive down the inside.
And Jim Duncan, the passenger, oh, and that's it. It's all over. He's stopped.
So that brings 23, Dave McLaughlin and Martin Long, up into third place as Peter Schumacher and 5, the Kawasaki 1,000-pound machine with Craig Johnston pull up. And a very safe second place now for Brian Payne and passenger Jim Duncan.
And Duncan probably one of the most languid sidecar passengers I've seen in a long time. Well, the chassis obviously working so well that he has to do very little work at all.
Robinson and Stewart going well, lapping very much faster, obviously, than anybody else in the race. The lead building up towards 10 seconds now as they start the second half of the race. They're on lap 5 in an 8-lapper.
The lap record,
passenger working very well.
The lap record, in fact, stands to Doug Shivers and Margaret Halliday, set 2 years ago.
Wheel up there, and you can see how well they're working. The rider's got confidence in the passenger there. He knows he's out far enough to lift the wheel a little bit. Look how hard he's working. Doing a tremendous job, Stewart. And again, really down on the job as they loop through Castrol Corner, up onto the straight. The new situation now, third place with the retirement of number 5, McLaughlin and Long. They've pulled away quite well from Stan Bayliss, the man who started road racing in 1949. Speedway in 55, got out of that in the 60s because he decided it was very hard to do road race practice on a Saturday, Speedway Saturday night, road race Sunday. He had to concentrate on one thing or t'other, and it's generally felt around the sport that the man's hitting pretty close to 60 years of age. He's just built himself a new machine. again, watch the passenger here, doing so well on the lead bike, Craig Stewart. Through the S's. And then watch him here, Yamaha corner. Wheel stays down this time. You can see the wheel's closed in, so no chance of him rubbing elbows on it, otherwise there would be. And then really works over the dog leg. And I don't imagine there's a lot of viewers would like to change place with Craig Stewart. Out on their penultimate lap.
Not necessarily the best handling outfit in the world either. For all the twitching and weaving you see them doing, they're lapping at about 1:26, and that's about 6 seconds outside the lap record held by Doug Shivers and Mark Halliday. So they're working hard to get their 26. We go back to second position in the motorcycle race, Brian Payne and Jim Duncan. And they're about half the length of the straight in front of third place there. And of course is Dave McLaughlin with Martin Long. You can just hear the big four-stroke wind out.
Not a lot of guys that race solo motorcycles who many people think are crazy. There's not many of them that would get on that little platform with its 2 or 3 handles and start, as they say, swinging, diving around with a lot of sideways forces, your nose very close to the ground, and an incredible sensation of speed. Not at all my choice of the way to spend a Sunday either, I must say. The S's now for third place, and starting the last lap for the race leader. Again, the passenger, as in sailing, ballasting on the inside, keeping it well anchored.
The final round of the Australian Road Race Championships to be decided next weekend at Calder in Victoria, which of course will also be the last round of the Swann Insurance Series. So an interesting weekend of motorcycle racing coming up down there, with 5 classes of the Australian Championship to be decided. All these people in the sidecar events will be down there.
And the race leader's toe, Chris Robinson, just about kissing the ground as it hangs down in these kneeler outfits. He's leaning on his knees, chest supported on the petrol tank on a little bit of a pad. Far from ideal driving position, and not much of a position either for a man swinging. Tucks down when they're in a straight line, gets out again, and hangs on grimly, I imagine, when it's braking and walking around a bit, as they tend to do. Some of the most unusual machines in motoring, sidecars. Very different left and right-hand corners, but it certainly is victory in the 8-lap sprint to Chris Robinson, passenger Craig Stewart in the Windle. A long way in front of Brian Payne and Jim Duncan at 99, a race time of 11 minutes, 31.17 seconds.
And a split of 18.13 seconds between first and second position.
And an average speed of 108.4 kilometres an hour for the race winner. Third place to McLaughlin and Long and 23.
McLaughlin finishes 11.88 seconds behind Payne and 30 seconds behind Robinson.